Hello everyone, Agent of Doubt here, and I've had a pretty interesting day off just watching YouTube videos, and it kind of took a fork today, and so I ended up watching a whole bunch of videos that were TED Talks, and for the benefit of those of you who are only interested in drama, I'll address the bearing video first, for lack of a better place to start. So I just watched a video by Bearing called Everyone Should Pretend Fat People Aren't Fat Because Feelings. And in it, he's responding to a fat person who is a TED Talk presenter, and she is telling her life story and saying about things about body positivity and how fat shaming is wrong. And there are some things that Bering says that are very correct, very true. If you're fat, you are basically more likely to get so many different medical maladies that he posted in his video, and doctors would tell you to lose weight. Yes. Where I feel like Barry gets it wrong is the moralistic viewpoint, the moralistic perspective. And what I mean by that is I'm an addiction counselor, and among the many different things you can be addicted to, food is one of them. You know, of all the different anonymous things you could go to if you were addicted to something, you know, the Alcoholics Anonymous, the Narcotics Anonymous, the Sexaholics Anonymous, there is Overeaters Anonymous, right? It's been accepted as a thing for a while that people can be addicted to eating food. And Bering's moralistic viewpoint in going into this ponage video where he intersperses himself into this TED Talk video, just cracking jokes at the things that she says. His moralistic viewpoint is basically quit overeating and start exercising, and your problems will go away. You're causing your own problems, right? Why should the world have to change if you yourself are the reason for your problems? You need to fix you because you did it to yourself, right? Well, in the course of learning how to be an addiction counselor, I learned of different perspectives and models that you could see addiction through. And the oldest of these is actually the moralistic view, where you hold people accountable for their addiction because they're the one who caused it. They started drinking that booze. They started smoking that crack pipe, right? They are at fault. And I'm not saying that the moralistic viewpoint is wrong. I'm just saying it doesn't get you anywhere in fixing the problem. Nowadays, we would use a biopsychosocial model where we've taken three different perspectives that seem to work some of the time, and we've combined them to make a multi-pronged attack on someone's addiction. We recognize that biologically, when they started their addiction, something started getting cross-wired in their brain, and their reward centers were being hijacked by their drug. We recognize that psychologically they can be addicted to these things as well, without just the biological aspect of it. There's the psychological aspect of just habit. And also we recognize the social problems like availability and peer pressure and advertising and whatnot. All of these things we address how to cope with, right? And if I were to tell someone who was drinking alcohol to excess every day, hey, all you have to do is stop, but I'm going to make you drink just a little bit every day. How well do you think that would work as a treatment program? Well, the problem with eating disorders, like overeating in particular, is you actually have to experience some of that drug that was triggering you to use every day. And so there's a completely different course of treatment that you would have to go through to cope with your addiction and get back down to a normal size. If I told that person who was an alcoholic that they had to drink one drink every day, they would probably fail the treatment, and every day they would go on a binge. Like they say in Alcoholics Anonymous, one is too many and 1,000 is never enough. And so these binges happen, and they start with that first one. So I have a bit more empathy for people who are suffering from addiction, especially the ones that I have gone through myself. And I just think that Bering's approach at what he would prescribe to this person that he is disagreeing with is a bit off, because it would be pretty ineffective as a treatment for her, as a path to take. Now, how did I get here talking about Bering? And by the way, if you're just here to hear me talk about Bering, I'm done. How did I get here? Well, I had a researcher this week leave a comment on one of my videos, and I decided to get back to it today. And that researcher is Ms. M. Jackson. And she used her own YouTube account to post a link to her TED Talk to one of my videos. And my video was about feminist glaciology. Link in the description box to everything I'm talking about, okay? So, I saw this paper that was about feminist glaciology. I read certain parts of the paper to my YouTube audience, and I critiqued it heavily, right? So the actual author of the paper left a link on my video saying, this might be helpful to you. And no, it was not. No. The first thing that occurred to me was, holy shit, this seems like it was written by Anita Sarkeesian and just performed by this person. And at a certain point I was having flashbacks to another YouTuber who would say that they were getting hundreds of hate mail comments a day, and then would present the same 3 to 6 of them at any given presentation, and went around with a presentation on this. And we all know who I'm talking about. If you don't, you're just not cool, right? But at a certain point in Ms. M. Jackson's TED Talk, she stopped and showed a certain comment of, I wish your parents had died. And then she said that she wasn't going to present any of the other comments because it would just be too emotional for her. And I'm like, that was a pretty childish comment and pretty par for the course here on YouTube, but I understand when somebody doesn't have any sort of internet presence and they're just trying to publish papers, how mean comments like that might seem a little bit more powerful and emotive. But yeah, as far as helpful to me in understanding why we need feminism in glaciology, no, I don't understand why it's important for us to look at a tribe that transports chunks of ice to create their own glaciers. And if the glacier is fast flowing, they call it a female name. And then if it's a slow, stubborn glacier, they call it a male name. I don't get how that benefits society to recognize that there are male and female glaciers in the perspective of this tribe. No, I do not see how that tacit information is going to help the human race move forward as a species. No, I actually feel like that's pretty regressive to recognize genders in ice and rocks. It's anyways, I just I was left with this feeling of, how did TED Talks allow this presentation to happen? This was, to me, like watching an Anita Sarkeesian talk, any of them nowadays, or something by Zoe Quinn, or something by certain other YouTubers who have been harassed for certain other elevator-related things. And I just felt like TED Talks used to be about technology and science, and not about YouTube bullies. And then I look on the sidebar, and I see another video, and it is a very large person in the thumbnail, and she has a TED Talk called Living Without Shame, How Can We Empower Ourselves? And it's by Whitney Thore. And so I click on that 20-minute TED Talk, because I'm just a glutton for punishment. And no pun intended there either. She's talking about body positivity, and she shares her own story of how she was fat shamed, and how people randomly would just shout pig or fat lazy person at her, and it would make her cry, and it would ruin her self-esteem, and she would go home and cry. And there were not a lot of examples of this, but these individual examples do seem kind of powerful in the immediate presentation, especially when it's the victim talking, right? And I'm just wondering, how did TED Talks become a platform for this? How many different TED Talks are there that basically are dealing with YouTube trolls, like the comment section on YouTube videos? And I started watching video after video, and I could not believe what TED Talks has become. Like, oh my goodness. And I had the thought, before I even saw Bering's video today, I had the thought, one of these big anti-social justice YouTubers is going to see these TED Talks as their gold mine for entertaining their audience by interspersing themselves into that TED Talk, bringing the venom, and how long is it going to take? Well, Bering was already on it, because this was actually a re-upload of his video with his new cartoon, as he's re-uploading his old content after remastering it, right? So I'm late to the game here, but I just, like so many other things, I'm not happy that it was co-opted by all the different social movements, and it's left its original purpose. Where's the science? Where's the technology? No, we got to talk about, I'm being bullied, and I'm being oppressed. I'm getting death threats. I'm getting horrible messages sent to me. Is that what it takes to be a TED Talker these days? Will that get you top billing? And seriously, being one of those YouTubers who leans liberal but didn't drink the social justice Kool-Aid and got a lot of slack for it, I can remember a few instances where, especially whereas body positivity and fat shaming is concerned, I can remember a few instances where somebody who disagreed with me all of a sudden thought that I was ugly. You know? Somebody who disagreed with me all of a sudden thought, oh, well, you were only talking to me because you wanted to get with me and you're kind of a creeper and you need to die of a fat person heart attack and your fingers look like sausages and all of these things that would never be said to me before the person disagreed with me. You know? I can remember a lot of these things coming out of people that are on the social justice warrior bandwagon right now. And as soon as they disagree with you, this principle of let's not fat shame people goes right out the fucking window. You're an ugly person. You always have been. We just didn't tell you. Yeah, fuck off.